Hey guys, welcome to Ask Jungle Scout, episode number 9. My name's Lenny, I'm going to be your host. This is the show where we answer your top FBA questions. So if you do have any questions for me, make sure you drop them in the chat box. I can see there's a number of people joining us already and some comments in there, so thank you very much for those. To kick things off, like always, I'm going to answer a few pre-submitted questions and comments that have come to the team. Following that, I'm going to jump in and answer your questions live. So the first question that I'm going to start with today is from Isa, who asks, is it worth starting up in the UK where I'm from, or is it better to target the US marketplace? So from the outset, the US is definitely the biggest marketplace. The UK is still fairly big as well. So for the most volume, you'd want to sell on the US marketplace. But as I've said before, and I know Greg says this too, really you just want to start wherever is easiest for you, whichever provides the least amount of hurdles. So if it's better for you to start up in the UK because you understand the country and how to set up a business and so forth, if that's easier for you, then I would just do that to get things started. The next question is from Kemper TV. It sounds good to start and pick reviews in Australia's market. Easy, like you pick up apples from trees, but don't forget the population. Australia has 25 million people and the USA 327 million. Okay, so this is referencing a new video that just went out on our YouTube channel, I think it was yesterday, on how to sell in Amazon Australia. And so I just wanted to address this one. So I feel really optimistic about Amazon Australia. I've already started the process of selling some products on there, still very much in the early days. So I'm still collecting information and kind of feeling out this marketplace. And so the point here is that yes, the marketplace is very small to begin with, and it's taking some time for Amazon to be adopted into Australia for sure. But the point of the video that I released, and you can go check that out on our channel when you get a chance, but I think there's a great opportunity there because it is a brand new marketplace. People that get established now, are going to be really set up for years to come as it expands. So without a doubt, it is small at the moment, and there's not heaps of sales going through, certainly not in comparison to the US, for example, but I think it's a great way to expand your business. If you're a new seller starting today, I'd probably lean more towards the US just because there's the volume there. Australia mightn't be the best marketplace to start out in, but if you already have an established business and I'm looking for opportunities to expand, that's when I'd consider looking into Amazon Australia. But even if it's not for you today, I'd certainly keep an eye on the marketplace over the next year or a couple of years to come, because I think that there's still going to be sort of that early adopters advantage for the next couple of years as the marketplace starts to grow. All right, the next question is from Dagama TV. Hello, JS. I've been doing private label for a few months now. My product is a generic product that does not have any changes or innovations. Can I start a Kickstarter campaign with a generic product? Or do you only recommend to start a Kickstarter campaign with innovative products? Yeah, so what I've seen work best on Kickstarter is generally speaking they're products that have improvements. So, the ones that work really well are kind of solving a problem that people have with a certain type of product, and this person's kind of invented or innovated on a product. Those are the ones that tend to do best. So you could certainly try that method on Kickstarter. I know there are people that have launched their private label product on Kickstarter and then continued the sales on Amazon. So I certainly know that does work, but I would lean towards only doing that or doing that if you've got an innovative or upgraded product. All right, the next question is from Julie that says, hey Lenny, how are you? I have a question prior to your live as I might not make it. I've been using the rank tracker and I can see that I'm ranking to 10 and 50 organically for loads of keywords. Do you still need to bid via PPC for these keywords if you're organically ranking for them? And the second question is how to get a 10 for the LQS score within Jungle Scout. So I'll start out with the first question. I think this one's quite interesting. So let's say that you're ranking organically for a whole bunch of keywords, ranking between 10 and 50. The short answer here is that personally, yes, I would always continue to run PPC, even if you're ranking highly for keywords. If you're ranking 30, 40, up to 50 for keywords, I would definitely run PPC because at that rate, you're going to be at least on page 2 or 3. Most people are typically just going to buy off of page 1. So really, unless you're in the top 10 or 20 spots, people probably aren't going to purchase your, purchase your product from that keyword. So if you're, from probably like ranked 15th and on, I would definitely run PPC on those keywords. But even if you're sort of in the top 10, if you're ranked in the top 10 of organic search, I would still personally run PPC, and there's a few reasons for that. Number one, for me, it's like, well, having 2 spots is better than none, okay? So, if you've got your listing appearing in the sponsored ads spot at the top, and then again on the next row or somewhere nearby, I think that's, definitely better to have that rather than not having that. If you're, and people's eyes generally get drawn to probably like that top 2 kind of rows of items that are displayed. So there's like 3 sponsored ads products, and then there's like a handful more that are ranked organically. You could argue that if you are ranked between 1 to 5, for instance, that maybe you don't need to be running PPC. That could be something to experiment with, because I know there are instances, and it can be really interesting, where you stop PPC and see how you go without it for a while, and you actually continue to keep up the same number of sales. I've actually seen that happen personally, but then the sales did start to drop down a bit again, and so I turned PPC on again. So it does depend on your product and your marketplace. So I would, if you're ranked really highly for keywords, I'd potentially test turning off PPC for a while and see what happens to your sales. Because if you can still maintain the same sales velocity without spending money on advertising, then of course that increases your profitability. But the other reason I personally like to continue PPC, even for these keywords that are already ranked high, is that it's not just about you showing up twice, it's also about preventing a competitor from displaying in that spot. So like somebody is going to be displayed in that sponsored ads spot. So if it's not you, it's going to be a competitor. So by you taking over that real estate, there's less chance for people to click on a competitor's product. So that's how I personally look at it, but it is worth experimenting with for your own particular product. I do think it is also nice if you happen to have like a bestseller badge, for instance, or Amazon's Choice. It does display it on the sponsored ad and on your organic listing. So it is kind of nice if you've got a bestseller rank and you're like the 3rd, organic listing, and you're also in PPC, like you do that badge does display twice, which is just a little bit more eye-catching. So that's how I kind of look at it. Yeah. And then the second part of the question is how to get a 10 for LQS. So LQS stands for Listing Quality Score. It's one of the filters that we have inside of Jungle Scout, where basically we measure from 1 to 10 the quality of a listing score, of a listing. And this is determined by things like the quality of the title, description, bullet points, their images. So I thought to answer this, like how do you get a 10? I thought I'd show maybe some examples that I pulled up. So I know it does appear a little bit small here, but this one was rated a 9 on Jungle Scout. And so I've got two parts here. We've got the title and description, and then we've got the images. So really what's helped this listing have such a high score is how well they have filled out their title and their bullet points. They've really taken up a lot of that real estate. So I particularly like the bullet points here. It seems to work quite well. Things like adding a section in all caps at the start, and then, you know, in kind of elaborating and adding more detail afterwards. I have seen listings that do even have more text in the bullet points. Personally, I would probably not add in any more text than this. I think there's a balance between not utilizing your bullet points enough and then stuffing it with so much text that it becomes just a big blob of text that's not as readable or user-friendly to the audience. I would say this is starting to get on the end of too much text. But that is like one of the metrics that you know, Jungle Scout is taking into consideration is how much are you using up the real estate that you have available. So that being said, I would say, you know, the listing quality score is definitely a guideline. You know, you do want to kind of like look at this listing or look at the listings yourself and kind of make your own judgment about what that best balance is. So more isn't necessarily better, but there's kind of a balance there. So I hope that kind of makes sense. The other thing that we do look at is the number of images that are used. So we aim to see at least 7 of the 9 available images taken up, which this particular listing has done. So that's like another metric that we look at. And so then to compare to this, I also wanted to show an example of what was rated a poor listing according to Jungle Scout. And so this one was rated a number 2. And I know it's a little bit small and hard to see, but I think you can already get the idea here. So this is a poor listing. This one's only got one little image there, and there's, you know, the title barely has any information there. There's like 10 characters or something. It looks like they haven't used any bullet points whatsoever. So this is kind of an extreme example of a bad listing. So of course, that's one end of the spectrum, and then this one is the other. I wouldn't necessarily worry too much about trying to get a 10 listing quality score within Jungle Scout, but I'd be aiming to try to get that as high as possible by following these guidelines of using up as much as you can of your title and bullet points, but also remembering to make them readable and kind of user-friendly. I hope that answer didn't get too convoluted, but if you do have any follow-up questions, then let me know. The next question is from SuperMonkey3238. Hey guys, I've been watching the MDCS Season 4, taking a ton of notes. Just finished episode 8 of shipping. Seems like there's a bunch of fees to take into account. I wanted to ask, what would you say is a good amount of money to save up before starting FBA? Looks like you recommend around $2,000. Wanted to know if this was still accurate. I feel like I'd be comfortable with more, but wanted to hear what you guys had to say. So this is a question that we get asked quite a lot, and obviously people want a number, and it is, the truth of the matter, it is hard to give a specific number, but I would still stick to the number that we've given in a previous video of like, you know, you'd want at least $2,000 generally, okay? With the caveat that most of the time, more is better, okay? I would personally feel more comfortable with around the $3,000 mark if you can, but if you only have $2,000, then that's still a solid amount to get started with. It does depend on the product that you're looking for. If you've got $2,000 or less, then in the product research phase, I would be very strict on like, okay, you really need to find a kind of cheaper product, like, you know, $5 or less, for instance, per unit, and that, or for the landed cost, for instance, like $5, including the product and the shipping cost per unit. Any, you know, if you're starting out with $2,000 or less, you really couldn't be starting out with an $8, $9, $10 product, for instance. So it's like it can be done with a smaller amount, but you need to be realistic about, what you can do with that amount. So hopefully that kind of gives you a little bit of a ballpark figure. I would say that the answer that we gave in that previous video is still pretty accurate, but the more that you can save up before you get started, the better. All right, so that wraps up the pre-submitted questions that we had here. Now I'm gonna jump into the chat box and answer some of the questions that you guys have for me. All right. All right, looks like we've got a troll in here telling us to try out helium-10. I have nothing against helium-10, but each to his own opinion. Let's see. Allison says, Jungle Scout, will this Ask Jungle Scout series continue with the 8-week upgrade series ending? Yes, absolutely. So Ask Jungle Scout is here to stay. I'm committed to coming on here each week to answer any questions that you guys might have. So you will expect to see me each and every week. Okay, so Pillow Guide says, is there any Black Friday deal for your Jungle Scout subscription? I'll let you in a little secret. We are gonna be running a webinar to possibly launch some Black Friday deals on November 21st. So if you're subscribed to Jungle Scout, you will get an email notification for that one, so you can sign up for that webinar with Greg that will launch our Black Friday deals. So yes, to answer your question. Okay, let's see, what else have you guys got? Adam says, hi Lenny, I'd like to know if I should always activate the automatic PPC campaign or disable it after a while. I personally like to continue my automatic campaigns. I find that they tend to actually convert pretty well, but also they're really great at collecting lots of data, lots of great new search terms. So personally, I like to keep them running. Sean says, hi Lenny, do you run PPC for products with coupons? Yeah, I do. I don't necessarily run PPC specifically for products with coupons, but more so I've got PPC running all the time, and then there are times that I will run coupons and continue the PPC campaign. So yeah, I can't see any issues there. All right. Okay, so this is an interesting one. Michelle asks, is the Amazon revenue calculator updated with the new storage costs because the months changed? I used it to try to estimate my ROI and profit margin. Is it updated with the new storage costs? That's a great question. I don't know offhand. I suppose it would make sense, right? For the FBA calculator to update with that current month's storage costs. So I don't know the answer to that one. I haven't looked at it myself, but you can search for Amazon monthly storage fees, and basically it'll take you to a Seller Central page that will break down what those fees should be for previous months versus the 2019 holiday season. So you can actually bring up what they should be, and I would compare that to what you're getting on the FBA calculator and make sure that it's correct. Okay, Rob asks, hi Lenny, what's your recommended time to run a first PPC campaign on a first product before you start to analyze the data? 2, 3, or 4 weeks, or maybe more? Yeah, good question. So I just mentioned automatic campaigns are really great at getting you customer search terms. This is like really invaluable data. This is like what customers are actually searching for. And then in particular, the ones that customers are searching for and you can see are delivering sales, those are real nuggets. So I I would be trying to get that data as soon as possible. I'd honestly start checking that search term report, a week after it started running. You might find that it hasn't been running long enough and that you don't have much information. So it kind of depends on how, how much it's been running. If you've been throwing, $1,000 a day on it, for instance, you'd have a lot of data within a few days, I'd imagine. But I'd be trying to look at it as soon as possible to get some of that information out. So the actual time, whether it be a week or 2 weeks, 4 weeks, I'd say as soon as possible, but you would want to have some substantial data. If there's only been, if you're looking at a given keyword and there's only been 9 clicks and there was like 1 sale from that, that might look kind of good, but it would be better to have whatever, 50 clicks and a whole bunch more sales. Let's say you'd want at least maybe 3 or 5 sales per keyword to be more confident that it wasn't just a fluke, that you just got 1 fluke sale for that particular search term. So I'd say check it, or you can check it as much as you like, but I'd start using that data as soon as it becomes kind of significant, if that makes sense. Okay. Adam says, is that normal if I pay a lot of money for the campaign, the automatic campaign compared to the manual? Yes, that can actually happen because the manual one is more targeted to keywords that you choose versus the automatic ones where Amazon chooses those for you. I did mention before that I do like to keep my automatic campaigns running, but if you are finding that the ACoS is quite high, there are some things you can do to optimize it. I mean, simply you could reduce the budget so that you're not, like the budget, like the daily budget, so that you're not spending as much on it. You can actually go in and you can kind of customize how Amazon chooses those keywords, like how closely matched they are to your product or how relevant they are. So you can actually go into this, like these targeting settings, and you can kind of adjust your bid and or even turn off some of those options. So that's what I'd recommend, is going into some of the targeting options and optimizing and kind of tuning those in so that you're not spending money on less relevant keywords. And so I think if you do that, you'll find that that should hopefully bring down your ACoS and kind of optimize those campaigns a little bit more. But yeah, I guess another really easy way is just to kind of lower the overall bid. So you're still running your automatic campaign, but you're not paying crazy, click cost per click. All right. Let's see. Let's see, so Sean says, hi Lenny, how do you make your bullet point so long like the one you listed earlier? I only have limited characters for a bullet point on Amazon. I think it does vary. I think it can vary from category to category. But I'd more so, just as a general rule of thumb, just say like try to just utilize as much of the real estate that you have available. So not everyone's gonna have the same number of characters as that example that I pulled up, but I just utilize the maximum of what you do have. Okay, so hi Lenny, selling since September and have not made a dime yet. In fact, having money being taken out every 2 weeks. Is this normal? Sales have picked up, but no profit yet. Lowered PPC bids as well. Okay, so yeah, I guess it's hard to kind of know exactly what to prescribe without knowing the product and more of the details there. So I'd say if you're having money taken out every 2 weeks, it sounds like you're spending a lot on PPC and it's not profitable. So you'd probably want to be optimizing and dialing in your PPC campaigns because it sounds like you're spending more on those than you're actually making, or you are spending more on those than you're actually making. But this really could come down to a number of things. You know, what is your offering like compared to your competitors? How competitive is your industry? I'd probably, if it's been, since September, so, it's been kind of like a couple of months, for instance, I'd be probably looking overall at the viability of your product and just trying to have a real conversation about, like, does this have legs? Am I just, do I just need to spend money at the moment to kind of push through until I get more reviews? Like, is it worth that? Or is it perhaps too competitive in this niche? So I guess that's kind of all I can say at this point without kind of knowing more. But if you have any other specific areas that I can perhaps help with, I'd be happy to try. Okay. Okay, so Eddie asks, what's the next PPC strategy after one auto keyword campaign? So the next strategy that I'd suggest is taking those customer search terms that are converting well within that PPC campaign and applying them to a manual campaign. And from there, the easy way to go about it is to create variations or basically set up campaigns or ad groups so that you've got broad phrase and exact match ad groups and putting those keywords into each of those. That way you can start to see how those keywords perform separately, as a broad versus a phrase and an exact match type. Then on top of that, one thing that I've been playing around recently and I've been hearing lots of people talking about is actually reducing the number of keywords that you have in manual campaigns. So rather than having 150, 30, even maybe 30 keywords within a campaign, actually kind of reducing that down. So let's say maybe five keywords, maybe no more than 5 to 10 keywords, but essentially having less keywords means that the budget that you allocate for that particular day or that campaign can be more evenly spread across those keywords. If you have, 50 or 100 keywords, then that budget probably isn't gonna go across all of those keywords unless you've got like $1,000 a day or something. So that's probably what I'd suggest next, is taking customer search terms from your automatic campaign, placing them into a manual campaign in broad phrase and exact match types. The other type of manual campaign that you could set up is using like Keyword Scout on Jungle Scout, for instance, and then taking the top keywords there that are relevant to your product. So I just go into Keyword Scout, type in dog bowl, for instance, if that's your product, and then look at the top keywords that it gives you back, select the top ones that are, obviously relevant to a dog bowl, and then putting those into a campaign as well. So those are kind of like the easy next two campaigns I'd recommend. Okay. Hi Lenny, how long does it take to the product to be active after shipment has arrived at Amazon? It says inbound, almost 23 days past in Q4. Any ideas? Wow. So when it arrives at Amazon, you get a notification saying that your shipment is in kind of receiving, and then you get another notification when it's been fully received. That's when it's actually available on Amazon's shelves. Or I think sometimes like your inventory can start to be start to become available in between those 2 points as well. And you might have, 80, 90% of your inventory available, and it might still be another day or two before you get that email saying it's been fully received. That's from my experience anyway. But I do know definitely in Q4, that the time between it arriving at Amazon and actually becoming available does definitely increase. For me personally, I've had it happen, it's usually like a week to 10 days. In my experience, if it's been 23 days since it arrived at Amazon and then it actually hasn't arrived on the shelves, like that's pretty intense. That's kind of how crazy it is. So yeah, I guess I don't have any suggestions here. Unfortunately, that's just the way it is. It really is busy in Q4, and that's why it's best practice to get your inventory in as early as possible. I've actually got a shipment that's on the way in at the moment, so I'm kind of like fingers crossed that it can get on the shelves as soon as possible. So I'm about to find out as well how long it's gonna take. But I guess in a lot of ways that doesn't surprise me. Unfortunately, you're just gonna have to wait. You might be able to reach out and kind of see if you can get an update from Amazon, but there may not be much else that you can do. Cool. Adam says, is there a way to see all the keywords of the auto campaign? Yes, there is. So it's called a search term report. I think from Seller Central, you go up to advertising reports. And then I think in the drop down there, you should see an option for search term report. And then that's the one that you download that will display all the customer search terms from the automatic campaign. Okay, let's see. I'm gonna go back and see if there's some older ones. All right. Okay, Brian says, I have an item with 2 variations, but the seller fees are a lot more for one item. They are the same size, just different colors. Any advice? Okay, that's kind of interesting. That does sound kind of strange. They should be the same if the product is basically the same and just different colors. At this point, I could just say, just double check all of the information in the back end and make sure there's not something that is slightly different on one versus the other. Yeah, I can't think of any other suggestions at the moment, but if anyone else has had any situations like this or knows any other variables that could affect the seller fees, then please drop them into the chat here. I mean, if the price is different, then the referral fee will change, of course. And so the referral fee is the one that will change dependent on the price, and that is up to 15%. So of course, if you've got a product for $10 and a product for $20, then the referral fee and subsequently the overall fees will obviously be higher on the $20 product. But if they're like the same price, or if you're just talking specifically about kind of like the FBA fee portion, the fee that doesn't change, then that should theoretically be the same as far as I'm aware. Hi Lenny, any idea when the product search will be available for Amazon Brazil? I'm sorry, I don't know at the moment, but I'll pass on that feedback because we always want to know which marketplaces people are wanting to see next. Okay, Any other questions, guys? Just while I hunt back through these questions. Okay, I have questions about fulfillment centers. Why can't I choose one that is close to me? Why should I ship all the way to Kentucky if my place is right by the one in Miami? I haven't had much experience with this. Like, I've never personally been trying to get it to a specific fulfillment center because I've been remote selling from Australia. And so it doesn't really worry me. I was just happy. Fortunately for me, all my shipments just go to the one fulfillment center. They never get split or anything like that. So I don't have any advice for this, but I'm trying to recollect. I know that I've heard people talk in the past about, I think there at least was at one point kind of some kind of a hack that enabled you to, or gave you a good chance of getting a fulfillment center close to you. And I thought maybe it was just kind of selecting the ship from address that was nearby. I don't know if that's correct. If anyone else knows what I'm referring to, then feel free to kind of drop a link or any suggestions here. But yeah, unfortunately, I don't know the answer to that one. If you check out our Facebook group, Amazon FBA Competitive Edge, if you post that question there, I'm positive that there'd be someone in there that might be able to help you out in possibly getting your shipment sent to a closer fulfillment center. Okay. First time making it for a live. Hi, Lenny. Thanks for joining. I'm excited to have you here with me today. Let's see. So this is an interesting question. Nathan says, can the Jungle Scout Chrome extension be used to gauge the profit potential for a affiliate marketing niche? So talking about using the Amazon affiliate program, I'd say I can't see why not. I've never kind of delved into that, but yeah, I think absolutely. I think that would be kind of a great use for it, because ultimately you just want to be picking products that have high demand. So you could definitely find products that have high demand, and those are the products that you choose to become an affiliate for. So yeah, absolutely, that's a great use, I think, for the extension. All right, Josephine says, hi, my logo has my website displayed on it. Is it okay to have your website on Amazon products? That's an interesting one, actually. When I first saw that, I thought you were referring to product insert cards or something like that. I don't know. I don't think I can give you a solid answer, because I'm not sure if it's on your logo itself. I don't know if anyone else in the chat has any experience with this. To be honest, I'm not sure about a website on your particular logo. I was going to say, when I thought you were talking about product inserts, that until this point, I've always had my website, for instance, and so forth on product inserts, but I have heard a little bit of chatter about Amazon potentially pinging some people for product inserts and things on there. So that's kind of something that we're sort of researching into and trying to collect some more information about. And so I'll be able to kind of share some more information on maybe best practices for product inserts real soon. To this point, I think that they're still effective and worthwhile doing, just as long as you're not outright asking for a biased review or anything like that. But that's something that we're kind of delving into to try to find the latest scoop on. Alrighty. See if there's any last questions. Okay, so here's one from Pillow Guide. I want to start selling on Amazon, but I'm still stuck with product research. I feel your pain, Pillow Guide. It is the hardest part of the business. Just hands down, it is the hardest. It can be frustrating. You might sit there for a couple of hours at a time and feel like you've found nothing, but I just say stick with it. everyone goes through this. If it helps, you're not alone in this. Like it just, yeah, unfortunately it is just the hardest part, but it is very important because it is the foundation of your business. But personally, I've been doing some product research lately, and if you haven't tried out the Jungle Scout Opportunity Finder, this is a brand new product research tool that we released just a few weeks ago, but that thing, really kicks butt. I've been using that quite a bit over the last couple of weeks, and I've been really surprised with the sort of number or with the kinds of results that I've been getting from it. So I definitely recommend checking that one out. Greg did a great demonstration of Opportunity Finder, which you can find on our YouTube channel. I recommend watching that one and then diving into the Opportunity Finder and trying it out for yourself. But that one, I think, greatly, increases your chances of finding good opportunities to sell. Alrighty. Okay, guys, well, I might wrap it up there today. Thank you so much for joining me on today's live stream. I hope you guys have got some value from this. If you've got some value from any of the questions that I've answered today, please do me a favor and give me a thumbs up below this video. It's awesome to kind of see that you guys like it. That means a lot to me, and that's what keeps me coming back each week to help you guys out. Also, if you haven't subscribed to Jungle Scout's YouTube channel, then you're crazy. Make sure to subscribe down below so that you get notified whenever we're doing one of these live streams. We've got another great webinar with Greg coming up next week as well. Plus, we've got other video content coming out regularly. Thanks so much for joining me today. All the very best with your Amazon businesses, guys. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.